we say this a lot, but I do think that this year during the pandemic, as much as ever, the need for discussing this, having a conversation about it, talking about the issue, the need, and as we said on our Jen's message, it's a silent crisis. A smile can be misleading. It can mask the internal suffering, the mind and soul, and which is why so many are affected with mental health conditions, and they can slip through the cracks, may not receive the help they need. And these charities that we brought today in this forum are going to discuss that need and the silent crisis. So my name is Mike May. I'm the National Executive Director of Outreach Coordinator Services for McGuire, your local outreach coordinator. I'm joined by my colleagues, Jennifer Howard, who is the National Operations Director, Antonio Gonzalez is our events director nationally, and James Kernan runs the campaign in heart of the Midlands. So some of you folks have been on these before, but what we do is we have folks come on and charities come on, and for the charities they received an invite. We're going to go down in that order that you received from Antonio. The invite, we're going to go for about 2 minutes and talk a little bit about what it is that the organization does. I'm going to take you to the giving site, and at the giving site, we're going to navigate to the individual charities website. If the charities would, I see a lot of the charities have put their name and their organization. If you have a CFC number, we're gonna repeat that a number of times. But if you want to update your name and include your CFC number, that helps tremendously too, as the folks learn about you and how they can support you. So I'm going to turn it over for a minute to Jennifer Howard, who's going to be with us for the first 15 minutes or so, and then she has a prior engagement. But Jen, you want to talk a little bit about what the need is?
Yeah, thanks, Mike. I appreciate that. And I do want to also acknowledge that we are streaming live on Facebook. This is being recorded and it will be shared beyond this message. I know that this forum often includes a handful of federal employees. Thank you to our federal employees who are with us today. We know a lot of you guys are joining us on your own time to be a part of this conversation. But this will be shared across the federal agencies and another account, so other people will also receive this message today, which is really important. And if you haven't yet followed our YouTube channel, please consider doing so. We have a lot of resources on the Facebook pages, the YouTube channel, et cetera, that even our charities can help share and promote their involvement in the campaign on from your angle. The more we promote, the more outreach that we are all able to do successfully in support of what's going to be a strong finish. The campaign closes January 15th. And, mental health is something that I think people are talking about more than ever before, especially after the year that we've all been through. So I'm really grateful to all of our charities that provide support for mental health. It's something that's directly impacted my life and my family. And I think if you've lived life, you've probably encountered it yourself in one way or another, whether it's directly, personally, or indirectly through your family or people that you care about. So thank you for being here, Mike. Thank you for hosting this. In fact, I'm going to make you the host now, Mike, since I'll have to actually step away for a family therapy session this afternoon. So again, thank you guys for all the work you do in our community. I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me.
Thank you, Jen. Update on the campaign nationwide. Each zone is a little different, but I'm very happy to announce that the campaign is tracking even with where it was last year. It's down maybe $1 million. It's about, and it kind of goes back and forth. It's about 53 million this time last year. I think it's at 52 million right now. When you consider that the campaign ended up at 84 million plus volunteer time, which probably will be down significantly this year. So we're looking at, a target of 80 million this year to keep on pace with last year. Think about that. The majority of the money is going to be raised in the next 15 or 20 days. And that's what we call a Finish Strong campaign. So federal employees, coordinators, LFCC members are getting messages right now across all zones about what the Finish Strong toolkit's going to look like, what the what the campaign is going to push out. And James and then Antonio, would you talk a little bit about some of the accounts that you see doing well, like USPS? What they went through. You consider a pandemic, you consider everybody shopping for everything online. USPS has to do an election. USPS gets through, Christmas season, and they have not had a campaign. So a lot of the results, a lot of the totals that we've seen, I think USPS last year raised 8 million, and I think right now they're at 3 million or something like that. So James, what do your accounts look like, and what's your optimism for a Heart of the Midlands campaign this last 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
Yeah, this has been a dynamic year, very different since, really 100% of the campaign activities have been all virtual. But happy to report some of the campaigns that are up are offices that are almost 100% remote. So Army Corps of Engineers out of Omaha is an account that's already up this year compared to what they were last year. And they have had trend-wise a great campaign. It's one of the few that really are actually growing year over year. We've got the VA hospitals are another surprising one with how crazy busy they are. And the VA hospital network, pretty much across the entire zone, Mike, are all doing really well, tracking to finish over what they did last year. So that makes up some of the bigger accounts in our territory. Some of the big bases as well. Offutt's having a great campaign. And I just actually got an announcement through social media because I tracked them on their Facebook page. Because of the snowstorm that's hitting Nebraska today, they're shutting down the majority of the base. So I don't know if any of them are with us today on the call, but that's a quick update on my side.
Antonia, you want to talk a little bit about your campaign? And these two campaigns are two of the 11 campaigns that we work with on the call today. We have other of our campaign leadership locally. Ken Miller from Alaska, Gwen Harris, Carrie's here from Midwestern Chicago, and Chenier from Michigan. So please put in the chat, Ken and Chenier and Gwen, what you guys are seeing on the ground. Also, and federal employees that have joined us, tell us what you're seeing. Tell us what's going on in the campaign, that you see some of the challenges and some of the successes, and use the chat to get everybody, the charities and everybody up to date, if you would. Thanks. Antonia?
Yeah. Well, for North Texas, one of our largest account by far has always been U.S. Postal, and we all know the challenges that they've been facing this year, just postal in general. So we definitely have seen decrease there, but that being said, we've seen so much increase in so many of our other accounts that have not been number one historically, one being EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, and they are actually already ahead of where they ended the campaign last year, and their major portion of their campaigning actually doesn't start until January 4th. So they're doing an amazing Madness Since March campaign, so kind of a takeoff of March Madness. And so they're really going to be focusing on these last 2 weeks of the campaign. And so we really expect their numbers to pretty much double, probably have them wind up about 80 to 100,000 this year. And the same thing with Nuclear Regulatory Commission. Already before the Christmas break, they were ahead of what they raised last year. And they're really, just like Mike said, all of these agencies that are virtually working and teleworking from home are really seeing some pretty significant increases. So I'm really psyched about what this Finish Strong campaign is going to look like for us this year.
Yeah, it's a testament to the federal employees, their public service. I think every federal employee would say that this year tested them and their delivery of their programs and projects and services to all of us has all had to be rethought and executed in some incredible ways. And yet they stepped up and had a combined federal campaign that will raise, different amounts. We don't know what the final total is going to be, but near what they raised last year, I think is just an incredible testament. We have seen, I've been doing this for 30 years, and we always see in an election year, the campaign tends to go down, kind of fluctuates. but takes a step backwards just because of all the pressures and the uncertainties. Yet this year, again, we're on track. I don't know what the last 2 weeks are going to be like. There's a big Finish Strong toolkit that we have communication-wise. We're having trainings with our coordinators next week. As soon as they get back into the office, many federal employees, and you might know this, federal employees have used it or lose it. So the last 2 weeks of the year, many federal employees are rotating through their offices and taking time off. So right when they get back next week, we're going to have trainings for them, make sure they understand what the toolkit looks like, and start pushing out the Finish Strong campaign. So any questions, Ken? Thank you, Shanir. Thank you very much, and for updating everybody in the chat. The way today is going to proceed, we're going to start with Kentucky United Methodist Children's Homes and United Way of Lincoln Lancaster, Allen Force, and Compass Center. And those first four are going to go and talk for 2 or 3 minutes about their programs, and I'm going to take you to the giving site. We're going to find that charity on the search engine. So, for example, every charity has their CFC code, and we'll find Kentucky United Methodist Children's Homes, and then they'll explain a little bit again about what the need is right now, what has developed, what they've seen occur. I like to hear, and James and I and Antonia have been doing these for 3-4 months now, and learning about what the need is and how these incredibly professional, talented nonprofit programs have pivoted because they've had to become virtual. And learning about what they've done to address the inability to meet face-to-face program service delivery is a real key point that I hope that each of the charities will share. We'll take a break after the first four. Vet Life will follow, the Shepherd's House, Jordan Elizabeth Home, Harris Foundation, and then Serenity Club. So that's today's program. For all the federal employees, make sure that you go to cfcgiving.opm.gov and start your account, or if you already have an account, make sure that you get in there and get it updated and make that pledge. The campaign wraps up on the 15th. The site will close. Paper pledge cards will be processed all the way through into February. So paper will trickle in later, and that's an important component too for the charities as you check your results, as you get ready to apply for 2021. Know that the primary paper donation source is USPS. And so USPS is getting into their Finish Strong. You'll get into the 15th. You'll look at your numbers before you reapply. Know that just like last year, money will continue to come in. Pledges will continue to post to your account all the way into February. And the primary source of that is USPS, but also military installations. A lot of paper there that has to be processed. And we know that procrastination is a real thing. I'm guilty of it. And so a lot of coordinators are holding paper pledge cards that they've been gathering for the last month or 2 months, and they'll turn them in on the 15th. So be ready to watch those numbers grow into the end of January and beginning of February. Antonia, have I missed anything operationally? I will, I guess the timer. You want to talk a little bit about?
Yeah, each of you are going to get a 2-minute window to speak. Mike will have his trusty cell phone timer that he'll hold up at about 30 seconds. So that way, you know, when it's time to kind of wrap up, and then we'll go on to the next speaker. But I think we've discussed everything. And if you're ready to go ahead and proceed, Mike, I can announce the first speaker.
That would be great.
Okay.
Any questions? Let me just put it out to the floor. Any questions, anything in chat that we need to address? I think everybody here is ready to go. If you've been on these before, you know how they operate. If you're new to, please, we enjoy learning from you in the chat. We enjoy answering questions. The chat's probably, for me, one of the most effective, I think, tools for teaching and getting inquiries. So please, federal employees, charities, you have any questions as we go through this, use the chat. We have a number of staff members here that are ready to answer your question. It can be locally, and if your question isn't answered or can't be answered by somebody here, we will get you the answer likely before the end of the call. So please use the chat, ask questions, and Please also ask questions around the cause of the week. If a charity is on that can answer the question, we want to have a conversation. We don't want to just have a presentation. So keep the conversation going in the chat, everyone. Yeah. Thanks, Antonia. Who's the first charity? Go ahead.
And any federal employees that have questions of our charities who are speaking, please feel free to tag them in the chat and ask them directly there, and they'll be able to respond to you on anything that they may have spoken about. And so our first speaker is going to be Kentucky United Methodist Children's Home. Their CFC code is 72892, and we have Miss Rebecca Hirschman joining us today.
Hi, everyone. Can everyone hear me all right? Okay, yes. Perfect. Thank you so much for having us today. And thank you so much for this conversation about mental health. Like has been mentioned before, we are all aware of mental health these days. And we all know that your childhood and your family and your upbringing have a big impact on your mental health throughout your life. And so the Kentucky United Methodist Children's Homes, we have been serving youth and families in Kentucky for almost 150 years. 2021 will be our 150th birthday. We have a variety of programs. We are primarily involved with youth and families who are in the foster care system, or they're in the state court system, or some sort of disciplinary in the judicial system. We have in-home services that are specifically designed. They're preventative services for families who are still together, kids who have been identified who just need a little extra support, whether that's physical needs that the family has, emotionally. We send in a case manager and a therapist to those families with the goal of keeping them together. We also have residential services, which is actually how we started as an orphanage, and then transitioned into more mental health care treatment. So this is an intensive 24-hour supervision kind of program where youth live with us and our staff, and they receive intensive treatment so that they can re-enter their family or re-enter a foster care home. We really believe that all a child needs is one successful, compassionate human adult relationship that can really change the course of their life. Even as young, we see youth as young as 10 years old and as old as 20 years old. And at any point, there's room for hope and growth for them. And so in this stressful year, we really expect that because of the pandemic, child abuse and neglect reports will be down, but the need for our services will continue to rise. So we've seen a lot of families, thank you, Mike. We've seen a lot of families get connected with telehealth this year, and that's been a big part of our counseling and mental health services this year is through telehealth. So being able to provide that technology to our therapists and our families is a way to keep us connected during this time, using Zoom and using other resources like that. That's just a little bit of what we do and how this year's impacted us, and we thank you for your support because we know that our work is going to be so necessary once our world reopens. So thank you for having us and considering us.
Thank you, Rebecca. The idea of telehealth is something I think I started to see really start evolving with so many services being provided over the internet. But I would imagine that idea has grown through counseling services and allowing everybody to connect with the counselor on demand almost. But I love the idea of one relationship can change a person's life, and that kind of get the right person with the right experience, the right counseling skills at the right time. The teacher comes when the student's ready, kind of thing. So thank you very much for that presentation, for what you do. Antonia?
Thank you, Mike. Our next speaker is going to be the United Way of Lincoln and Lancaster County. Their CFC code is 79069, and we have Miss Becky Ellis on with us today. Thank you, Becky.
Well, good afternoon. Like she said, my name is Becky Ellis from United Way of Lincoln and Lancaster County. The Beckys are getting to go first today, apparently. I want to talk to you a little bit about our agency. The United Way of Lincoln and Lancaster County, we fight for the health, education, and financial stability of everyone in our community. And as part of that, we partner with 41 agencies that address the needs in our area, including youth mental health. Mm-hmm. Residents of Lincoln say they experience at least 3 days of poor mental health a month. In Lincoln, Nebraska, suicide is the 9th leading cause of death in our county. With the COVID-19 pandemic, obviously that has complicated things, but thankfully we are able to help with funding so that our partners could quickly switch to providing telehealth services, which Rebecca and Mike talked a little bit about. When the pandemic hit, we had about 5 telehealth rooms in our agencies. We now have 65 telehealth rooms in our agencies, so there's just such a need there. Another of our agencies offers 35,000 sessions between March and June. They have seen clients during this pandemic that they had never needed services before. So there is a huge need for mental health out there right now. And any way you can help with that is appreciated. And I just want to say thanks so much to everybody in the CFC campaign that donates, and to everybody, Antonia, Mike, James, that set up these events so that we can speak to everybody. We sure appreciate it.
Thank you, Becky. Tell me a little bit about a telehealth room. What does that look like for United Way of Lincoln Lancaster County? What goes on there? What services are provided? And like I said, seems like it's critical and couldn't be more critical now.
Well, they're similar, to Zoom calls, so that they can get set up one-on-one on the computer, with the phone, whatever. I know on my personal level, I have a daughter that's been depressed and suicidal for the last 3 years, and I'm able to have good insurance, but we meet the needs of that child. So if that child's in school, they're able to step out of their classroom. They don't have to miss a whole day of school or a half a day of school to see their psychologist or counselors. So there's been some very positive and very helpful things with telehealth conference rooms.
Well, you're a testament to that. Thank you very much for joining us and sharing your story. And you've been a partner with us in the CFC for a number of years, and it's great to see you. And thank you for explaining and sharing with us the important services that you and your United Way colleagues provide around mental health. Antonia?
Thanks, Mike. Our next speaker is going to be Alan Force, CFC code 76616, and we have Miss Donna Allen Seebach on with us.
Thank you so much. Allen Force is a fairly new organization, and we are just 8 years old. We're based in Chicago, but we serve through health, fitness, and recreation to veterans of all eras and their families, importantly as well. So we work not just within the Illinois area, but we have also collaborated with many organizations outside of the state with the workshops and the education that we teach to serve veterans. Just a little bit about myself. My name is Donna. I'm a co-founder of Allen Force. I did not serve, but it was an honor to be able to name Allen Force in memory of my dad, who was in the Army. And what we do is we have 4 main programs through which we serve, and we have adapted those programs since March as well. The 4 main programs, number 1 is our Vet Rec program. It's for anybody with a DD-214, anyone who's been in the military or is currently serving. We do all kinds of outdoor adventures and recreation, which is so healing through nature with mental health in so many different ways, as many of you probably know from personal experiences as well. Our Vet Rec program and all of our programs are free of charge to the veterans and their families, which are always included. Our other program we run is called Healthy Minds, Healthy Bodies, and that is specifically for veterans that have been injured or have a chronic illness. And it could have acquired after service as well. So not just the physical injuries, but also mental health, post-traumatic stress, and military sexual trauma is a big one we see with our other program I'll talk about in a minute. Our Healthy Minds, Healthy Bodies program, we train personal trainers how to serve injured veterans in the fitness center and work with them to build up strength around their injuries, etc. They also have monthly networking events that they get to attend with their families. And it's a great program that we collaborate with organizations around. She-Force and Vet Tank have changed a little bit. We have a hybrid method of delivery now that we're doing since COVID, and we've done telehealth was mentioned. The VAs use telehealth with their veterans on a regular basis before COVID even hit. But what we've been doing with our vets is making sure they understand how to use the video conferencing we're using is Zoom, and they're able to attend our programs both in person when it's allowed. Also, they can choose to attend via Zoom as well. So we have a hybrid model that we're using for a lot of our method delivery, especially with our She-Force program with the female veterans and the other women impacted by the military. Just a quick thank you to the CFC. This is only our second year participating in this, and we're really excited to be able to get the word out. We're thankful to the CFC of how you spread the word for so many federal employees. And I know all of you have a passion out there for some sort of reason that you're impacted by one of our missions. And just thank you for your support.
Donna, thank you very much. As the son of an Air Force vet and a brother that's a U.S. Marine Corps Lieutenant Colonel, I've been deployed 6 times. The need is real. I recall, and this was maybe 2 years ago, but there was a statistic that a veteran commits suicide every 21 minutes. Have you heard of that statistic? It was 22 minutes.
22 minutes. Yeah.
It's there've been, we teach a program on suicide awareness and prevention as well, in collaboration with the VAs, and the statistic was 22 a day you hear often. And in the recent years, and Joshua, I see you're on, we haven't met, but feel free to back me up as well. In the last I guess inventory that was taken nationally within the VA system, that number is down to 22, but that is just still way beyond. It is 3 times higher than in the civilian world.
Well, thank you for what you do. Thank you for sharing your programs. I want to recognize that you do have your CFC number on your website. That makes a big difference when people visit you. And I think that you know, the other thing you might want to do is at the bottom here, we know a lot of charities will put the CFC logo, putting the CFC number or the CFC logo up here is a great way to promote the campaign as you start, you know, going out on social media. And the need is real. It's personal to many of us, as I said, and naming it after your father is a excellent recognition of his service to the country. So thank you very much for joining us, Donna. And Antonia, who's next?
Thanks, Mike. Our next speaker is the Compass Center, CFC code 20895, Jason Lemke. You're muted, Jay. There you are.
Yeah, my mouse wasn't cooperating. Thank you so much. I'm Jason Lemke. I'm the Chief Development Officer with the Compass Center located in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. We provide counseling and advocacy services for survivors of sexual and domestic violence, ages 3 on up, 3+, and we serve men, women, and children. And all of the services that we provide are at no charge to the individual. One of our guiding values is we are committed to reducing barriers to services and therapy wherever we can. And one of the major barriers for a lot of folks is cost. So we're committed to this structure where we do not charge our clients for any of the services they receive. We offer play therapy, which is specialized therapy for the kiddos, ages 3 to 12. It lets them engage with the therapist by using their native language, which is play. That's how they most fluently and comfortably express themselves. So we, just like with all of our therapies, we try to meet the client where they are. And play therapy is a huge asset for that. We have a registered play therapist, one of only, I believe, 12 right now in the state of South Dakota. And we are the only facility, I believe, that has play therapy available at no charge right now. We also run a 24/7, 365 rape crisis hotline, and that program responds with an advocate to the emergency room or to a law enforcement center anytime a sexual assault is reported. And that advocate is trained to assist the victim, make sure that they understand their options, make sure they understand their rights, help them navigate through all the choices they have to make as far as reporting or not reporting. Sometimes they're just there to hold a hand during the rape kit. Anybody who's ever been an offender bender knows that in the wake of a traumatic experience, your brain doesn't always work normally. So having another set of eyes and ears there just to make sure that nothing is missed and that everything is understood is a huge asset for those victims. We in March of this year, we went from thanks, Mike. We went from a 100% face-to-face operation to a 100% virtual operation in a 3-week time period. It was part of our strategic plan already, but we were planning on doing it over about a 2-year time period rather than a 3-week time period. But we made the switch and we made it work. And now we're committed to using it as a springboard to expanding our service area and using the telehealth capabilities that we have in place now to reach out to some of the smaller communities.
Jason, thank you very much. Can you talk a little bit about how the need has grown when you moved from face-to-face to virtual? You moved at a time when everybody is hearing, and the reports are of one of the real significantly challenging parts of the pandemic and a lockdown is this kind of abuse and domestic abuse and violence. What have you seen as far as need goes in as you transition from face-to-face to virtual?
The need was definitely there, and it definitely increased in certain areas. Sexual assault reports actually went down for a period, partially because folks weren't able to interact with as wide of a spectrum of people, and partially because some victims weren't able to escape their abusers to report safely. We did see domestic assault numbers go up in our region and in our service area. It was an increase of about 25 to 50% year over year for any given time period during the pandemic here. And we also have retrofitted our offices now so we can provide socially distanced and protected face-to-face services for a select number of clients who either aren't able to connect with us via telehealth or who just weren't progressing with the telehealth services. So we've put barriers and hand washing stations, sanitization stations. We have masks and face shields and all the PPE available for both the counselors and the clients that they might need.
Well, thank you. That's the need. We've had other organizations on here, and I'm sure the other charities that are here and have seen this. That when you move to virtual, we were talking. One of our first events was a veterans marriage counseling organization, and they actually saw their participation rates in their events when they moved virtual actually increase. People didn't want to come down and do face-to-face, or in some cases, that challenge was too great for them at that point in the service delivery. And so when they could go remotely, they actually felt an opportunity to engage, and they saw themselves as a way forward through receiving services virtually. So it's an incredible opportunity. Obviously, we wouldn't want to wish 2020 on any of us again, but I know that there is an opportunity for us to really grow. CFC's grown. We're having a virtual charity event right now just because of these challenges. So thank you for what you do, Jason, and thank you for joining us today and partnering with the Combined Federal Campaign again this year.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Do you want to talk a little bit, you and James, about the campaign and some of the organizations that you've been working with, some of the charitable events you've been doing locally to promote the campaign virtually for a few minutes while we take a break from the charity presentations for 5 minutes?
Yeah, sure. Well, locally here in North Texas, I've been doing a weekly lunch and learn, inviting charitable organizations to an event similar to this. We're taking a 30-minute lunch break for employees, federal employees, to get on and learn about the work that's being done here locally, as well as being able to have national and international charities come out to speak to them. Generally, when we have our in-person events, really it's only the local charities who are able to participate in those. So this has really been beneficial in allowing them to hear from anybody, kind of across the country. So that's really been a great event that we've been having weekly here in North Texas. And I've gotten a lot of feedback from coordinators and federal employees alike who feel like those are really beneficial to their organizations.
No doubt. James, we thank you very much. We did an event last week. Santa Claus is zooming to town. You want to talk a little bit about what that looked like and how well that went over?
Yeah, you bet. That was a blast. We put together this in a very short period of time, but I think it was on Tuesday of last week, December 22nd. So we had almost 500 RSVPs register for the event. And what was different about this is we, of course, had one of the LFCC chairs out of Heart of the Midlands, Terry Morgan, up there on the top left of your screen, if you can see him. He was dressed up like Santa Claus, and he was taking requests from the kids, and also he read a story about being kind. And it was very different because normally it's just the charity representatives or the federal workers that are on these Zoom calls. But this one, we realized most people were working remote, right? It's a holiday week. And so we invited their children, and it just was a blast. It was unruly sometimes with all the children hollering in the background when they first saw Santa, but it was a great opportunity to really bring the zone, and we had multiple zones all participate. I think that's why the attendance was so high, but it was really an amazing event.
Yeah, it was. This is a picture of some of the kids, and this was afterwards, and what we thought, we remembered that you go to the mall and the line to see Santa can be long, and we committed to ourselves, listen, we're not hanging up till every kid gets to talk to Santa. We're not going to have Santa come on, and we told Santa, it's like, this could be an hour, it could be 2 hours. I think it ran 2 hours, and this is a picture, and we told all the kids, if you want to talk to Santa, raise your hand. So, there's this icon where you can raise your hand, but a lot of them, like this guy right here, was just sitting there looking at the Zoom screen with his hand up, and kept it up for about 30 minutes. I always wanted to call on the guys that had their hand up physically. I'm like, I got a poor kid. He's a good learner.
Yeah, Mike, this is one of the blessings that really came of the pandemic. It forced us to think outside the box and do things differently. And so this obviously is going to be an annual event moving forward, right? We want to continue to build off that success and do this zone-wide moving forward, just because it was so well attended and so popular.
Yeah, we do plan to have this every year. Santa's committed to it. He starts growing his beard in October. I think next year he might start it in July and really come on full force. But it was a great event. And James, you really bring up a point that we want to reiterate. The CFC didn't know how it was going to run this campaign. We didn't know what our events were going to look like yet. We've all pulled together. We partnered together, federal employees, federal leadership, outreach coordinators, and of course our charity partners have all come together to make this a success. It's a success. And we know going forward that there are going to be parts of the campaign that will come back, face-to-face events at USPS, Postal, on military installations. But we also know that what we've learned this year and what we've gotten good at is going to be part of the CFC going forward. And I think Santa Claus is zooming to town is one of those. So let's get back to the charities and the Claus Week conversation, Antonia.
Yeah, sure thing. Our next speaker is Vet Life. We have their CFC code is 81911, and Joshua Parrish is on with us. Thank you, Joshua.
Hi, Antonio. Thanks for having me today, and hello to everybody. I live in Michigan, about 30 miles south of Detroit in Howell. I'm the founder, co-founder, and executive director of Vet Life. I'm an Iraq War veteran. I spent 8 years in the Army. I was in Iraq for the initial invasion. And my wife and I started Vet Life because of the struggles that I had when I got out of the military service. I thought that the benefits that I was entitled to would be there for me, but unfortunately, they weren't. And so that led to me, my wife and I creating Vet Life. So essentially what Vet Life does, it's positioned itself to be a one-stop shop for veterans. We want to make sure that we can, catch the veterans before they fall through the cracks from the transition from military to civilian life. Specifically, what we do is we create outreach events that include the veteran and their family. Statistics have shown that veterans are 3 times more likely to commit suicide than the general public, but they're 6 times less likely to ask for assistance. So, quick story, when the pandemic first hit, I put out on LinkedIn, I said, if there are any veterans that were struggling to reach out to me, I said, I don't care, day or time, I'll be there for you. And somebody messaged me and said, I'd really like to go for a walk. So we ended up going for a walk for about an hour and a half. And at the end of the walk, we were sitting down on a bench and he said, you know what? He goes, I was actually going to commit suicide today if, I've just felt that nobody cares about me. Nobody's there for me. And I'm happy to report that I've stayed in contact with this veteran and he's doing well now. I bring that up because I started thinking outside of the box right after that encounter with the veteran. And I started reaching out to some of my friends who are retired Detroit Lions football players. And we created this program called Leave No Veteran Behind Empowerment Project. So essentially what that does is we train newly transitioning veterans to be subject matter experts on how to transition from the military to civilian life. And we've been quite successful with that. We utilize these veterans to reach out to other veterans that are coming back to Michigan. And we've had great success because we've seen that veterans seem to bond with other veterans as opposed to non-military people. We've attempted to train non-military to reach out to veterans, but it just hasn't been successful. So as Michael mentioned, our CFC code is 81911. And as you can see, our website. So if anybody wants to follow us on social media, follow us at Vet Life Today. And thank you for the opportunity, and hope everyone has a happy new year.
Joshua, thank you for your service. Thank you for your courage and your vision to start this. The way that you have described it today is an inspiration to us, and I think you have an incredible service. That story was gripping, and I think those events happen every day. If we go back to our initial presenter, we talked about how one person can change one life, and at the right time, at the right moment, to be there and provide that service is so inspirational. So thank you again for everything that you've done for our country and for vets.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Antonio.
Thank you, guys. Our next speaker is the Shepherd's House, but however, I'm not seeing them on. So we're going to go ahead and go on to our next speaker, who is the Jordan Elizabeth Harris Foundation, CFC code 80035. And we have Erin Buck on with us today. Thank you, Erin.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm thrilled to be here, and the chance to do this virtually is quite great. Well, today we are based in North Texas, but we do reach beyond that. The Jordan Elizabeth Harris Foundation was created because there was a young woman named Jordan Elizabeth Harris who did die by suicide in college because of depression. What we do now in her honor, and for mostly students, we do have several programs, but we do have one called Hope Squad. And Hope Squad is a program that has had significant impact in our community. Just 3 years ago, we had about a dozen schools. It's a peer-to-peer suicide prevention program. We now are in 89 schools in 9 districts with 75,000 students, and we are scheduled to have even more next semester. Those Hope Squad student members, the peer counselors, we have about 1,500 of them, ages 9 to 18. They've been elected by their classmates, and these students receive special training to help those peers who may be suicidal. In the last academic year, 484 students were actually referred to an adult who were struggling with suicidal thoughts or a mental health crisis. And they did receive help through the Hope Squads. Hope Squad schools have also received more than $300,000 from the foundation over the last 4 years. We continue to do that. We have QPR training that continues to be a source of impact for us, our staff and volunteers, who we have quite a bit of volunteers and a very small staff. We're on track to provide 4,500 people with suicide prevention training. And QPR, by the way, stands for question, persuade, and refer. It's 3 steps needed to help someone who's suicidal. They're free trainings, and we've engaged people from all over the country now that we're able to do this virtually. Our Train the Trainer program is called Unite for Light. That impacts through other partnerships in our community and agencies and academic institutions. We've provided 16 partners with free QPR suicide prevention training and materials so that they can go on also and help others. In the past 5 years, we've provided financial impact of about $392,000 in awards for depression research funding. So we have our programs, but we also do contribute financially to the research and get to the bottom of why, how, all the questions we have with depression and suicide. So this year we supported JPS Behavioral Health, which is a large medical facility and hospital in Fort Worth, Texas. We also have been helping TCU and UNT, so it's Texas Christian University and University of North Texas, with their medical school training, both to help others, but also to help those medical students who may be struggling. And with the stigma, which is a big thing we try to get over with the foundation, these soon-to-be doctors are not reporting their mental health crisis quite as much as we would expect them going into the medical field. So we have put some programs into place at those 2 universities also to help those. And then, of course, none of this would be possible without our supporters. Every dollar means that we can serve more children in our community. And we also have trained quite a bit first responders, including the entire Fort Worth Fire Department at the beginning of 2020. So that was quite an accomplishment. So thank you all for taking our time to listen. And as Antonio had said, our CFC code is 80035. So thank you.
Thank you, Erin. Huge program. I love the work that you do in schools with teens, and I'm sure there's a huge component that you have that helps with the pressures and the effects of social media on kids, and how that is such a contributing factor to so many mental health illnesses, especially at that age. So thank you very much for what you do, describing the need and partnering with us at the Combined Federal Campaign. Antonio?
Thank you. And I just wanted to kind of piggyback on that. I took your QPR training a couple of years ago. You know, I'm here in North Texas as well. And then this year in school, just through Facebook, I saw one of my nieces commenting that she joined the Hope Squad at her school. And so she was super excited about it. So thank you for the work that you're doing. I'm sure it's going to benefit future generations to come. So I know that we are a bit past our 12:45 end time, so thank you to all our federal employees who are still on with us. We do have one final speaker for today, Serenity Club, CFC code 40408, Miss Rebecca Bucala. Thank you, Rebecca.
Hi, you guys. Hi, everybody. Wow, everybody on here just sounds amazing. Wow. So kind of blown away about that. Well, I'm with the Serenity Club. I'm just a volunteer there. So I volunteer as a secretary there. We're just a small nonprofit agency. We provide a place that is free of drugs and alcohol in our community. It's just a tiny little club, but several people come there. We refer people for services in our area that need help with, depression or mental illness or anything like that. We provide 12-step meetings. We facilitate that. We don't provide them because they're different than what we are. But we're an agency that reaches out. We reach out to families of alcoholics and drug addicts and those affected, by gambling issues or any other issues. We help, the kids and the families, provide meetings and referral services in the area to those families that, they might need more help in depression or different areas. So we help set them up with counselors and other resources that they normally would not have. So that's what we do. We facilitate 12-step meetings and refer people, but we're there as a safe place. We provide a safe place and free of drugs, alcohol, gambling, for people with addiction issues. And as everybody knows, the opioid crisis has really put a damper on 2020 as well, because I think it's 70%. It's went up 70% opioid deaths since 2019. So that's like a huge jump. In Oakland County, Michigan, which is where we're based, it's went up quite a bit. It's like 20 or 30%. Narcan is great. We have that on hand. So what we're looking to get help with this year is, because of the pandemic, we had to shut down once. We're thinking about shutting down again, but we're doing a lot of virtual stuff, which is great because, we're providing meetings and virtual meetings on our websites and Facebook for people that need it. And I mean, I've been enthused because I've talked to people from England and Ireland and all these different places, but we have to find funding now to provide those virtual meetings because Zoom is not free. So since we're a small organization, we've been working really hard on that. And we're looking to start an outreach, possibly a radio station called Sobercast. It's the same as a Sobercast they have on the internet, but it's different. So we're going to try to reach more people with some inspiration to stay clean and sober and follow the 12 steps. So, we've reached out to a lot of kids and a lot of families. So we have a new thing for the kids. It's called AllaKids. So I guess that's out there somewhere, but it's a new meeting for kids that are 6 to 12 years old that they're not quite teens, but they can reach out because a lot of kids here are not going to school. They're doing everything Zoom. So some kids in that area or that age range, they don't have anybody to talk to. So if they're a family that's affected by drug addiction or alcoholism, to give them more resources to come out and talk to someone, all with social distancing, it's better for the family because I know.
Thank you.
In that age
Thank you,
range,
Rebecca. And this time of year, this year and this time of year, I couldn't imagine the need being greater. So thank you for what you do. You said we're just a small club. You're a volunteer. That's what makes up so much of what nonprofits do. So many of our nonprofit partners are small. We have people here that are founders, co-founders of critically important services that have grown over the years. You know, you do, it's not the size, as we all know, it's the passion, and you have passion for what you do, and all our charities. I am inspired, as you said, Rebecca. I'm inspired. Every time, Antonia, every time we do a Cause Week conversation, James, you see this too, we come away with stories and passion for what we do, because the combined federal campaign is only motivational, passionate because of the programs that the charities provide. That's what makes people give. That's why we're here to support your programs. And we see it all the time, don't we, Antonia? And when we go out to work with people and why they give to the CFC.
Constantly, day in and day out. Every time we're on with a coordinator or federal employees, we're always hearing their stories or the stories of their loved ones, their family members, friends. So, thank you all for everything that you do. We are trying to just help facilitate the connection between you and the federal employees, and having these types of events is exactly what we need to be doing. So thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
Thank you all for this, our final Cause Week conversation of 2020. And I think you guys, if you haven't heard it before, hindsight is 2020. It's going to be good to have this behind us. And we will see you all in 2021 for more events. Our Finish Strong. Thank you for joining us, promoting the campaign, and inspiring everybody on this call for what you do in this critical, important work in mental health. So have a safe, healthy, happy New Year's, and we'll talk to you next week, next year. Thank you all. Thank you, James. Thank you, Antonia. Everybody.
Thank you.
Have a great afternoon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.